Mum, dad, 2 children, slaughtered in their own home.
Massive shock to the local community that something so awful could happen to such a lovely family.
This was an all-out slaughter of 4 people.
No one really knew what had happened, how it had happened, or why it had happened.
Are the family involved in some way with organised crime? Is this a contract killing because it's so brutal?
A family wiped out and a man going missing leaves a community asking questions.
Detectives were left pondering, was this missing persons case linked to a quadruple murder case?
There was a point in this inquiry I was thinking if we didn't have bad luck, we'd have no luck at all.
You didn't feel safe in the village?
Police were playing catch-up.
I can't think of another crime of this magnitude in the history of Northamptonshire Police.
In the beautiful Northampton countryside lies the quaint village of Wootton.
It's really lovely. Everyone knows everyone, so it's really chatty, really friendly. Yeah, it is nice, especially to have kids around here.
I love it. I know it's an old village. The church is very, very old, and we're in a conservation area, so people around here are very, very friendly. People have lived here for a long time. There are some families in the village who've been in the village a long, long time, so I think it says an awful lot. Very easygoing, yeah. Good community.
Wootton has a great community spirit. It has a lot of buildings, facilities, open space, considering it's an urban parish. There's the new building, Wootton Fields and Simpson Manor, and then there's the old village, which has got all its old traditional spirit with the church and the old village hall.
You've got the Yeoman of England pub in the village, Working Men's Club, you've got a community centre, they put on events, they do a food market every Saturday. Everyone helps each other out, everyone looks out for each other.
So Wootton was the perfect place for Jeff and Helen Ding, originally from East China, to raise their 2 daughters, Zing and Alice.
Jeff was a university lecturer up in Manchester, very educated man in the science field. Helen worked at the local school teaching languages. They had 2 daughters, Zing, also known as Nancy, and then they had a younger daughter, Alice, of whom Nancy was very protective.
Family life was busy, especially as Jeff split his week between home and his work at Manchester Metropolitan University.
I believe Jeff was a senior lecturer here, specialisms in polymers, so synthetic materials. His teaching was at first-year level. We all pride ourselves, giving support to our students, but Jeff really took that to a fantastic level. He spent most of his time with students, helping them out with various problems that they might have with their studies, for instance. He was actually a hall warden in a halls of residence just on campus. I don't think I ever saw him once lose his temper or ever have any issues with staff. Very easy to get on with.
The Ding's eldest daughter, 18-year-old Zing, was an accomplished musician and preparing to go to university.
Zing came over as being very self-assured, very calm, very capable. She had a wicked sense of humour, and she was quite a live wire. But she managed to be friendly to everybody she met. She was good at everything. She was a remarkable student at school, and she'd already accepted a place at Nottingham University to study medicine.
Like her sister, 12-year-old Alice was also a keen musician.
Alice was quite bubbly. She had one of those smiles that would light up any room. A bit of a cheeky smile, but she was absolutely delightful. Very outgoing. You could tell she was the whole package as a violinist. I think both of the girls had a very strong work ethic, and no doubt that come down to them from their parents.
Both Jeff and Helen worked tirelessly to create a warm and inviting home for their daughters and their friends.
Really welcoming. You could literally turn up and they would invite you in for dinner. They were just such a good family. Like, you would want your kids to be friends with them because they were just the best.
They all seemed very happy and very settled. They loved that family home as well. That was a place they really liked to be. And it is a very nice neighbourhood, I have to say.
But this neighbourhood will never be the same after one fateful bank holiday in 2011.
It was a big holiday weekend. We'd had the royal wedding.
When William and Kate got married, the whole of the parish here was alive with street parties, union flags everywhere, bunting, a lot of celebration. It was a super happy place.
I was actually working in the pub on the royal wedding. We opened early for it. Not many people actually came in because loads of people around the village were actually throwing street parties.
As the bank holiday weekend comes to a close, neighbours of the Ding family become concerned as they haven't been seen all weekend.
One of the family was due to attend something and they didn't turn up. And then the neighbour went round to see if they were okay and see where they were. The house was in relative darkness, no reply at the front door. That neighbour, thankfully, was a little bit persistent and went round to the back of the house.
Peering through the kitchen window, the neighbour glimpses what appears to be a body on the floor.
The police are alerted and clearly force entry to the premises.
As the officers enter the house, they discover not one, but two bodies.
Jeff is slumped by a radiator in the kitchen with multiple stab wounds. Helen is by the entrance door between the hall and the kitchen, and she's got multiple stab wounds.
The officers head upstairs and step into a harrowing scene.
Alice and Zing were up in the bedroom. The two girls are on the bed and they've both received a number of fatal stab wounds. You know, it was pretty horrendous.
With four members of the same family dead, detectives' first instinct is that the culprit could be amongst the deceased.
Nobody knows the reason that this family have ended up dead. One possible scenario is, and it does happen, is the murder-suicide aspect where a family member has, for whatever reason, killed the other family members and then taken their own life.
With such a heavy police presence, rumours quickly spread across the village.
I remember working at the pub at the time and started hearing rumours, customers coming in saying something really bad had happened, but we were all still unsure of the extent of what had happened.
I first heard through a friend who I live near locally, whose daughter was very good friends with one of the young ladies. So it was horrific locally to everybody. The fact that the family had been there for a while and been not discovered was horrific, and a massive shock to the local community that something so awful could happen to such a lovely family. I wouldn't like to speculate on people's opinions, but to me personally, it felt a bit targeted.
Little did the villagers of Wootton know the scale of the crime that's been committed on their doorstep.
The murder of the Ding family was probably one of the most horrendous crimes I've ever been asked to investigate.
In the village of Wootton, police have discovered a family of 4 dead. Detective Superintendent Glyn Timmins is put in charge of the investigation.
I was at home on Sunday the 1st of May, enjoying the bank holiday weekend, and my colleague alerted me to the fact that he'd been called to the scene of potentially a multiple murder scene.
46-year-olds Jeff and Helen Ding and their 2 daughters, 18-year-old Zing and 12-year-old Alice, have all suffered fatal knife wounds.
I think what you're trying to do initially is you're trying to rationalise it in terms of what's a likely motive. Why would a family be murdered? You could be looking for a crazed, maniacal killer who's randomly struck at a household. You could be looking for aggravated burglars where it's gone horribly, horribly wrong. Are the family involved in some way with organised crime? Is this a contract killing because it's so brutal? You never stop searching your mind for options and potential and possibilities.
In Wootton, the heavy police presence has drawn in local reporter Daniel Owens.
It was around about 10 o'clock on the Sunday night when I first arrived on the scene. There was no information coming from the police. We couldn't speak to officers who were inside the house. All we were getting was the people outside guarding the scene, and they weren't telling us anything. I met a couple of lads down there who knew the family vaguely, and they seemed quite upset at what they'd heard. And there were theories doing the rounds that it was potentially a murder-suicide situation. When you have a man and a woman dead in the same house, one killed the other, turned the knife on himself, etc. And that was certainly something that we expected to be exploring.
But in a fast-moving investigation, it's quickly established that the culprit isn't likely to be one of the family.
Clearly, because of the violence that had been used, it was just obvious to the officers that this was an all-out slaughter of 4 people. The big demand at that stage is, well, there are 2. The first one is the preservation of the scene and to make sure that you extract and harvest every centimetre of forensic evidence that you can get hold of. And the other one is to start thinking about who's done this and why.
With a murderer in their midst, police are also aware that villagers could be at risk.
The overriding factor in terms of the community is fear. Fear of the unknown, fear that it might happen again, fear that there's a killer on the loose, that their homes and their loved ones and their families aren't safe.
Police held a press conference and details started to emerge, and we knew this was a story that we'd never seen the likes of before.
For villagers, the news turns what was a happy bank holiday to celebrate the marriage of Prince William and Kate into a tragic event on their own doorstep.
When everybody's enjoying a day, and it was a beautiful day, it's hard to believe that something so vicious can happen. We were just stunned, really stunned. You can't believe it, because you cannot understand, A, why anybody could do that to a family and to children. Yeah, it was a bit of a shock.
Well, I was walking to my grandparents and I saw there was a bit of commotion going on the street. I was about 2 streets away. So, yeah, it was very weird. I don't think I wanted to leave the house for a while. I think it made everyone a bit more cautious about what was going on.
People were very on edge. I mean, I wouldn't walk on my own anywhere. I think you didn't feel safe in the village anymore. You don't ever feel like something like that's ever going to happen in a little village.
I was absolutely devastated. I really could not get my head around it. It was a very, very sad day. Not just for me, but for all of my colleagues, for the whole community that we work in here.
As the community mourns, police need to establish exactly when the Ding family were killed.
The initial response is pretty much routine. You're starting to set up initial house-to-house inquiries, not structured formal ones, but sort of people knocking doors. Have you seen anything strange or suspicious? Has there been any screams, shouts, noises?
But the neighbours haven't seen or heard anything.
Effectively, we've got 4 people who've been slaughtered in their own home and very little else by way of information.
As each member of the family is examined, it's apparent that whoever was responsible carried out a frenzied attack.
The results of the post-mortem showed the true extent of the brutality involved. The family were subjected to a total of 51 stab wounds between them, with Jeff and his wife killed in the kitchen and the girls killed upstairs in their bedroom trying to hide from their killer.
In the house, a possible murder weapon is found. It's been cleaned and left on the kitchen worktop. And as police comb the scene for clues, they find a puzzling item in the Ding's letterbox. It's a calling card from West Midlands Police, and it's been left just hours before the bodies were discovered.
The visit took place on the Sunday morning, quite early on. Obviously, no reply at the front door, but it's early on a Sunday morning, not unreasonable for people to be in bed. It's a bank holiday weekend. The officers got no reply.
Why had the police visited the Ding's home early that morning? Who did they want to speak to? And was this in some way connected to their murders?
Someone I'd worked with previously was a detective superintendent in West Midlands. He rang me to say, was I aware of this missing persons inquiry?
Police had visited the Dings in relation to a missing persons inquiry, that of 52-year-old An Zhangdu.
An Zhangdu was a native of China and came over here in the late 90s with his wife, and he ran a herbal medicines business, which he ran with the Ding family for some time.
An Zhang had left his home on the bank holiday Friday, 2 days before his business partners, the Ding's bodies, were discovered.
An Zhangdu left his wife at home watching the wedding while he boarded a train to Birmingham, where he went into his business premises.
He was going to open up the shop, albeit a bank holiday, albeit Kate and William's wedding. He'd gone in to do some work. When An Zhangdu didn't return from work, his wife, she started to become concerned about him, where he might be, what state he was in.
It was totally out of character for him, and she was tearing her hair out with despair at where he was.
At some point later in that day, she reported him as a missing person to West Midlands Police.
An Zhang's wife also described the night before he went missing and an unexpected knock at their door late at night.
Court officers turned up at An Zhangdu's house and served court document. The ultimate outcome of the service of that court process would have resulted in bankruptcy for Mr. Du and his family. Mr. Du did not sleep that night. He was pacing up and down. He was clearly angry, agitated. It really had disturbed him.
The missing persons inquiry was raised on the Saturday, and as part of that investigation, police attended An Zhangdu's business premises in Birmingham, where they found a note, effectively saying goodbye to his wife.
Leaving a note and with no contact for 4 days, police consider the possibility An Zhang has taken his own life.
Clearly, you know, in terms of mindset, in terms of where he was at mentally at that stage, that would ring significant alarm bells for both, obviously, his wife and the police investigating his disappearance.
Police want to know, what was An Zhangdu's fate? Could he also have been a victim of the Ding's killer?
What detectives were left pondering was whether the missing persons case was now linked to a quadruple murder.
But what detectives uncover next points not only to An Zhang's fate, but also a motive for murder.
There was this legal dispute over business between the two families, and that there was a strong possibility that something had led to a coming together of Mr. Du on the one side and the Ding family on the other.
The quiet village of Wootton has been shocked by the mass murder of the Ding family. University lecturer Jeff, language teacher Helen, and their daughters Zing and Alice. All 4 have been found stabbed to death.
Wootton was not an area affected by crime, yet all of a sudden the world's media descended on their doorstep. It went from 0 to 60 in seconds.
I doubt anybody in the country had really heard about Wootton Parish. And suddenly it was all over the news, headline news. It was shocking that actually somebody had murdered somebody in our village, and it's suddenly all over the world. On the BBC, for want of a better word, suddenly Wootton is there. It's just bizarre.
It's just a normal village that people come to and live or work or whatever. Just a normal village. When we heard what happened, how it happened, You can't believe it because you cannot understand why anybody could do that to a family and to children. Yeah, it was a bit of a shock.
Police have linked another investigation to the Ding's murder, that of a missing persons inquiry for former business partner An Zhang-du. He disappeared just days before the family of 4 were found, and it's been discovered that both families were at war.
An Zhang-du and his wife had been involved in a bitter legal dispute with the Dings since 1999. It had been rumbling on for a long time. This relates to a breakdown in the business relationship.
This falling out resulted in a 10-year legal battle, which culminated in a late-night visit from lawyers.
Du and his wife had been served with a court injunction ordering them to repay £88,000, which forced them into a financial black hole and near bankruptcy.
This is a man that's completely at 6s and 7s. He's been knocked completely off his axis in terms of his future and what's going to happen to him.
Du clearly felt massively aggrieved. He'd put his life's work into this business and had it torn from underneath him, really.
That's when the bells start ringing and you've got the basis of a real solid motive for homicide.
Police believe An Zhang-du's anger at being summoned to pay the Dings an £88,000 settlement makes him a prime suspect. But they have yet to find any evidence which connects him to the crime.
What we would have to do is put Mr. Du at the scene of the murders.
All eyes turn to tracking An Zhang-du's movements on the day he went missing. He's first spotted on CCTV at his business in Birmingham.
He left the shop probably within 10 or 15 minutes of having arrived there.
He's next seen heading to a train station.
We traced him to New Street, so therefore we knew which train and platform he was on.
An Zhang-du then boards a train to Northampton.
There's CCTV footage of him on an escalator at Northampton bus station. So we know he transferred from the train station to the bus station. We then know that he got onto a bus that went to Wootton Village, and there is CCTV of An Zhang-du actually asking the driver of that bus for directions. Obviously, he was trying to establish where Jeff and Helen's house was in Pioneer Close.
So if you see down the road and you see the bus stop just down the road, that's where he came off the bus to come into the village. He got off and he came down this way and I think went into the local store and asked for directions. So why would you think if somebody's asking you directions that there's anything the matter? You just think he's going to meet friends on that special day.
This represents a significant milestone in both inquiries. The person at the heart of the missing persons case, An Zhang-du, has been placed in the vicinity of the Dings family home on the day they were murdered.
So we're now putting him closer and closer to the scene, and subsequently we have the sighting of a gentleman of Chinese appearance stood outside the Ding family household, probably about 4 o'clock on the afternoon of the 29th. So it's getting more and more and more likely that that person is An Zhang-du.
Now a prime suspect in the murder of a family of 4, police need to find out where he went next. But then the trail goes cold. An Zhang-du isn't seen on CCTV either leaving the area on foot or by bus.
There was an understandable level of fear among neighbours. 4 of their friends, including 2 young children, had been killed, and the person responsible hadn't been apprehended. He was on the loose. Where was he? Would he return? Would he do it again?
With days since the murders took place and no idea where the suspect could be, detectives examine every possible angle.
He's already got a 2-day head start on us. What we discovered in house-to-house routine inquiries is that the Ding family, their family car had gone in for service, and as a result they'd been given a hire car or a courtesy car to run around in, and that car was not at the Ding family household.
Police were now able to issue a name and a picture of their main suspect with a warning not to approach him in any circumstances. They revealed the car he was driving, and the country was put on alert to help find this man who was wanted in connection with 4 brutal murders.
The manhunt for An Zhang-du puts all forces across the UK on alert.
Police investigating the murders of a family of 4 in the village of Wootton, Northampton, have released information on a man wanted for questioning. 52-year-old Chinese national An Zhang-du was last seen 4 days ago, driving a silver Vauxhall Corsa. Members of the public are being advised not to approach him.
The pressure's immense, and it's a responsibility not just on your own professional reputation, but there's a community out there who expects the police to capture somebody who's this dangerous.
Key to tracking An Zhang-du is using automatic number plate recognition cameras.
We were hoping that modern technology such as ANPR, which is a very, very standard form of police inquiry, would help us out in that situation.
After multiple inquiries, a lead comes in. The stolen car's number plate triggered a camera on the night of the murders at a service station just outside Northampton on the M1.
And it showed that that vehicle, that hire vehicle, had been there at about 9:45 on the evening of the 29th. And An Zhang-du had been in to buy some chocolate or a drink, and importantly, a map book.
But where An Zhang is going, detectives don't know. ANPR cameras are checked, and there's no sign of the stolen car on any road in the UK. An Zhang-du has vanished.
At this point, police had no idea of An Zhang-du's whereabouts. Was he dead? Was he alive? Was he even in the UK?
While the manhunt intensifies, the Ding's friends and family are trying to come to terms with what's happened.
There was great sorrow from the students, especially those who were close to him doing projects and so on with him. A great sense of shock and sorrow that someone that helped them so much, of course, now was no longer with us.
For Zing and Alice's friends, meeting at their first county orchestral practice is a traumatic time.
It affected many of the other students very deeply. At orchestral rehearsals in the following week, flowers were left on their chairs. Teaching is one thing, but no one can prepare you for... How does a teacher cope with this? I don't know. No one prepares you for that.
For Jeff's family, struggling with the loss is only compounded by the grief of not knowing why this happened.
Actually, I first learned from the internet news, and I was completely shocked. I even cannot finish the news. Okay, once I saw the picture, I just, I cannot believe there's 4 members all gone. It's just complete shock. Okay, and then I think about my parents. If I cannot, I manage that, think about the parents. They lost their children, their grandchildren, only one day.
Police investigating the murders of a family of 4 from Northampton have said they are concentrating their inquiries in London after a car stolen from the property was found parked near the Edgware Road.
After weeks of searching, the police get their first lead on their hunt for An Zhang-du, and it's created major problems for the investigation.
Unfortunately for us, Mr. Du, in his stolen hire car, managed to get all the way to St John's Wood in London without triggering a single police ANPR system. There was a point in this inquiry I was thinking if we didn't have bad luck, we'd have no luck at all. Because not only did he miss ANPR, but when that car's parked in a side street in St John's Wood, The car is ticketed 9 times in 11 days, so we're now 13 days behind there. That's a significant problem in an investigation, because if you can go more or less anywhere in the world in 2 days, the world is literally your oyster in 13.
Whilst Do could be anywhere in the world, police concentrate their search in London.
Anyone who's been to London knows how easy it is to become anonymous in a city of that size and what opportunities there are to disappear within various communities. Obviously, that was a huge concern to us, because if Ang Zhang Du wanted to lie low, then there's no finer place for him to do that and become anonymous and not be troubled too much. We're back to needle in a haystack time.
House-to-house inquiries uncover CCTV footage of Ang Zhang Du abandoning his stolen car in the early hours of the Friday night. Which reinforces detective suspicions that he's still in the area. The investigation moves to Chinatown in London's West End, and officers hand out wanted posters.
Obviously, language is an issue, although clearly most of the Chinese community within those areas will speak English. I think the most difficult cultural barrier is a natural reluctance to become involved with the police. And some people, even thought it was bad luck to put posters in shop windows and things like that. So, you've got to overcome those, but all you can do is reach out and engage and try and gain their confidence, but it certainly doesn't make it easier.
Whilst he's made it to London, police intel suggests that Ang Zhang Du wouldn't have gone far.
He was described to us as somebody innocuous, someone who probably would struggle to find his way round of his own volition,
Little did police know just how wrong this intel would prove to be.
Du had made his way through France and Spain and had been seen getting on a ferry from Tangier to Morocco. He'd also been stopped at a border in Algeria. With multiple sightings, this had now become an international manhunt.
Police hunting for a man suspected of murdering a family of 4 from Wootton Village in Northamptonshire have put out a reward of £25,000 for information which could lead to his arrest. Detectives say there have been over 380 sightings of Ang Zhang Du across Europe, but the 52-year-old has now been missing for almost a year.
Having reviewed over 5,000 hours of CCTV footage and interviewing over 2,000 people, police have discovered that Ang Zhang Du is no longer in the country.
It's a mind-blowing thought, because literally there are 6 billion people in this world. Where do we start? Which country do we start with? You're just thinking, oh my goodness, where do we go from here?
I doubt anybody in the country had really heard about Wootton Parish. And suddenly it was all over the news, headline news. This guy had come into our parish, he'd committed these dreadful murders, and then he was running off around the world where they couldn't find him. It put Wootton for a while in the news.
It was strange having Wootton put out there like that.
Through CCTV analysis, police have uncovered Ang Zhang Du's journey from Wootton to London and then onwards.
He took a coach to the coast and then over to Paris, then onwards to a Spanish port. And the long and short of it is, by the time the police became aware of the bodies, he was out of the country. He's gone.
The police reach out to forces around the world and decide to travel to Spain.
Detectives had issued an appeal on the Spanish version of Crime Watch, and that appeal went out far and wide across the country.
That broadcast was seen also in Morocco, and my understanding is that as a result of that, a supervisor or foreman on the building site where Ang Zhang Du had been working as a labourer, He alerted the local authorities, and the local authorities arrested Ang Zhang-du. After something like 14 months of being on the run.
Yeah, I remember when they caught him, I remember thinking, how on earth did he get there? Unnoticed and working, actually. How is he working? It shows they don't have the same laws that we have here about working. But yes, it was great. It was a good feeling to know he'd been caught.
I remember when the news broke out that he was being extradited back to the UK to be charged for the murders. Everyone felt like justice was finally going to be done.
But even though Ang Zhang-du is safely locked up in a Moroccan jail, it's another 6 months before he's returned to the UK and charged with 4 counts of murder. It's taken over 2 years, but the trial into the murders of 4 members of the Ding family begins at Northampton Crown Court.
Surprisingly, Du pleaded not guilty in the court case. His version of events was that he'd gone round there to simply talk to the Du family and things had spiralled out of control.
The issue for this trial was not so much whether he killed the Ding family, it's whether he did it as a murderer of sound mind or whether there was some kind of diminished element.
The court hears how on the 29th of April 2011, Ang Zhang-du was furious after he received a court order after a lengthy legal battle with Jeff and Helen Ding. His assets were frozen and he was ordered to pay the Dings £88,000. So, while the nation watched William and Kate get married, Ang Zhang-du had gone to his shop to pick up a kitchen knife. Then, he headed towards the village where the Ding family lived.
My belief is that when he left the New Street station just after 11, he was going to Wootton in Northamptonshire with one thing on his mind, and that thing was murder, the ultimate revenge.
Ang Zhang-du admits he entered the Ding's house via the back gate and finds Jeff Ding in the kitchen. They argue, and he stabs Jeff multiple times before attacking his wife Helen. He then goes upstairs and kills Zing and Alice. They are both huddled together in one bedroom.
What I can't reconcile, what I'll never be able to understand, is when that anger, that evilness, that bile is such that it makes a grown man climb a set of stairs, enter a room with 2 young girls cowering on a bed, frightened beyond description, and then plunge a knife into both of them and fatally wound them both without any compunction or restriction, just to execute 2 young. I'll never get over it. I'll never understand it.
During the trial, the jury also hears a recording of a 999 call. It was made by one of the girls when they heard Ang Zhang-du attacking their parents.
It transpired that a 999 call had been made from the property at the time of the killings. Police had responded to the call but had been sent to the wrong address and had no answer, and therefore the case was effectively closed.
I've heard that tape recording. It's horrific. Absolutely horrific. And those screams, I won't forget them, because I know what was happening when those girls were screaming, because a murderer had entered the room and was in the process of fatally murdering those 2 girls. Absolutely. I can't reconcile myself to that action. It's horrendous.
As the trial progresses, further details emerge about what happened after Du murdered the family.
After killing the family of 4, Du stayed in the house for 6 hours and actually went to sleep.
He then takes the time to wash the kitchen knife that he brought with him and leaves it on the kitchen worktop before stealing money and the Ding's hire car. He manages to evade authorities for over a year. But after a 2-week trial, Ang Sang Du is found guilty of all 4 counts of murder.
Ang Sang Du was found guilty of multiple murders and was sentenced to 40 years in prison, the longest sentence ever passed down in the history of courts in Northamptonshire.
With all due respect, Ang Sang Du is exactly where he should be in terms of the crime he committed and public safety.
The community were pleased that something so barbaric had gone full circle, really, and the man who had carried out this dreadful crime had been put away.
The fact that he's never gonna get out of prison, yeah, but it still should never have happened. But they've got as much justice as possible.
After 10 years, those that knew the family are still coming to terms with the loss.
I don't think there's ever any way that justice can ever really be done that can make up really for what happened. There isn't, and that's the closest we can get. And whatever punishment he got is never going to make up for what happened that day.
I suppose there was some sense of, okay, that's over now, but you're never going to get those girls back, ever. And that's going to remain with me for the rest of my life.
Ang Sang Du will be 92 years old before he's eligible for release. But for Jeff's brother, Ji Xiang, life will never be the same.
I cannot accept, the reality, basically. And then I think about my parents. They lost their children, their grandchildren, only one day. I have many questions to ask him. Among them, the only one question that strikes me most is, I want to ask him, how could you stab a knife into an innocent girl's heart? Not once, but twice. How could you do that? An innocent girl, you get that in. I'm not that confident whether I can rebuild my life anymore. I don't think my life will be the same again as before.
I really love the Start Today app.
They care about how I feel.
It's the staff on the app. It's the connections you make.
Without good mental and physical health, you have nothing.
It tells me how to cook to keep myself healthy.
I look at my app and I'm like, wow, I didn't know I did 7,000 steps today.
Start Today meets you where you are. Download the Start Today Wellness app now on your Apple or Android device. Terms apply. See app for details.
Every episode of Planet Money begins with a question.
Can we help people rise out of poverty by improving the neighborhood where they live?
What would you build on a piece of land when all the normal rules go out the window?
What do robot chefs mean for the restaurant industry?
Planet Money helps you find answers by going to places, watching people, and sometimes robots, at work and asking questions. Listen to Planet Money on the NPR app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Ready, actors. 3, 2, 1, action.
It's probably safe to say there are few fantasies in this world as intoxicating as the rise of a nobody to sudden stardom.
I'm Valerie. I don't know if you remember my name.
And if the vehicle for that stardom, a wildly successful movie, is the very first project of an Oregon glassblower and his high school-aged daughter, well, that's an even better fantasy, isn't it? They could almost see the posters, the marquee, that evocative title, From the Dark. Such a sweet fantasy it was. Except, maybe In the Dark would have been a more appropriate title, because that's what the filmmakers were, in the dark. For years now, we've followed the case of Tucker Reed, a whip-smart published author who knows how to tell a story and who has the looks and charisma and voice to land the lead on a feature film.
So, I don't know about you guys, but I am ready for a shot.
Yeah, that's what I was just saying. Hey, are we still on for tonight?
Of course. We're going to be loud, dumb, and crazy tonight.
So, maybe not a big surprise that Tucker's case, the shooting death of her Uncle Shane, played out like a limited-run streaming series unfolding in real time. The story within a story.
It felt like there was a knife to my throat and I didn't have anywhere to run. But I don't think I didn't mean to shoot the gun.
In this episode, you'll hear Tucker's version of the story, as told to police just hours after she shot her uncle to death.
He was banging the door into my mother. My mother was screaming and he was screaming. And I had the gun and I'm sorry.
This is Dateline NBC's newest podcast, Killer Roll. Tucker first told her story on a hot night in July 2016 in an 8x8 room of the Jackson County Sheriff's Office, just 5 hours after Shane Moore was shot to death. Tucker in jeans and a blue and white striped T-shirt, her blonde hair pulled back. She was barefoot, the way you might be at home on a midsummer's day. But of course, this wasn't home.
Hi, Tucker.
Hi.
Hi. I'm Bill George. I'm a detective with Medford. My name is Tony Young. I'm a detective with Medford Police also. She seemed to me, just on first blush, a meek, mannered young lady that seemed upset.
Tony Young had been a cop for a long time. Big, easygoing guy by the look of him. And he was easy to talk to, gentle even when necessary. And Tony had something in common with Tucker. Once had to kill a man, though it was in the line of duty. So maybe he could understand how Tucker was feeling as she huddled against a wall, weeping, knees pulled up to her chin.
A lot led you to where we're at today, but we gotta have it from you. You were there, I wasn't, Bill wasn't. We gotta have it from you, what was going on in your mind, to get a complete picture of this.
But every shooting is different, of course. And Tony only had a hazy account of what Tucker did. And two women to tell him the story, Tucker and her mother, and sometimes makeup artist, Kelly Moore, the victim's sister.
It's always helpful. The more you can learn first, the better prepared you are for talking to somebody. So in that circumstance, I had done some computer research prior to them even arriving at the sheriff's department. Basically, what you could find on Wikipedia regarding Aisling Tucker Moore Reed. I learned that being her full name. I learned that she was a USC graduate, was involved in a lawsuit involving the college regarding a rape investigation. Also, her mother, Kelly Moore, had been a practicing attorney in the past.
Interesting.
Very interesting. Not the normal people I'm used to sitting across from talking to in an interview about a shooting.
The Wikipedia entries Detective Tony Young found for Tucker and her mom, Kelly, read almost like a playbill bio handed out before a live performance. And with that introduction to the characters before him, Detective Young and his partner Bill Ford joined Tucker in the little interview room.
We take a case like this and try to learn as much as we can about what was going on. We know some family dynamics are involved here. We know that there's some history going on here. We understand a lot about what kind of led us here today, but not from you. Okay, and it's vital that we get it in your words and what you saw, what you were thinking, and things like that. That's what we offer to you at this point to do. Okay, because I can tell by talking to you in just a brief amount of time, this is not a normal day for you to end up here doing this.
No.
Okay, all right.
Then it was Tucker's turn to talk, and she proceeded to tell a wrenching story of a family living in fear, hostage to the anger of one man.
My maternal uncle, Shane, has been pretty much weekly, I would say, threatening my life, my mother's life, my dog's life, and our property, as well as my grandmother's life. He assaulted me in September, so he was not supposed to speak to me. He was not supposed to call our home.
Tucker got a restraining order against Shane. Her mom, Kelly, the attorney, helped her. And then the phone call.
So we get this call from my grandmother saying she's scared. And she doesn't elaborate.
This is, what's that Sunday?
The prior Sunday. My mother and my brother and I went out there.
And when they got to the ranch, said Tucker, her grandmother told them that Shane had been trying to intimidate her into signing a revised will.
And my grandmother kind of huddled into herself and said, he said he would kill you, Kelly, if I didn't sign this.
Kelly, remember, is Tucker's mom, so Uncle Shane threatened her life too.
So we stayed from that day on, barricaded all the doors with, their sliding glass doors, barricaded the doors.
Tucker's brother left the following day, which, according to Tucker, seemed to embolden her Uncle Shane.
He just kept circling the house. He would come around and he would call and he would threaten my mother. And today he told my mother that if she things up for him, he would.
At which point, Tucker waved her right index finger across her throat as if slitting it.
Is that something you saw or your mother told you?
She told me.
Okay.
And that is kind of background information I can provide you. And I just don't feel like I'm in a good position to speak about the incident today at all without a clear head and without a lawyer present. I'm sorry about that if that causes you any more trouble.
Well, that was a surprise. Tucker had seemed so open, keen to tell them everything that happened out at the ranch, but suddenly, after leading the detectives right up to the deadly event, she said she was done before telling them what would have been the details of the shooting itself. But Tucker said she knew her rights.
I was pre-law before this.
Okay, you know probably better than I do.
In my life now.
I know. But that kind of ends our interview at this point.
Okay.
But right now we're done.
All right.
Thank you.
Sir. Thank you, Detective.
And with that, the detectives left the room.
And that's where the interview ends. And when she provided this statement and requested to have an attorney present, it was done. We
of course.
Noted the time, said goodbye.
Did you
comment to each other about what had just happened in there and whether or not she was credible? Or
when myself and the other detective left the room, once she ended the interview, we commented on that fact, that it was almost seemed canned.
So the incident itself was pretty hazy just then?
Correct. We have not put a lot of edges on what really took place out there that day. No.
And then, it was just a few minutes after they left the room, somebody watching a monitor noticed something. Couldn't help but.
It was brought to my attention that she was waving at the camera and talking to the camera by another detective that's being monitored outside.
So back you went?
Back we went.
Tucker said there was something she forgot to tell the detectives.
I just wanted to add one more thing.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Kate Snow, NBC News anchor and host of the NBC News podcast, The Drink. This month, I'm sitting down with the hilarious Leslie Jones. We chat about her remarkable journey from her childhood to family hardships to the unexpected, almost accidental road that led her to comedy. From her unforgettable years at Saturday Night Live to her new show, Roast My Rental, about vacation rentals gone terribly wrong. It is a funny, candid conversation, and I hope you'll give it a listen. Join us for The Drink. Listen and follow now wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey guys, Willie Geist here, reminding you to check out the Sunday Sit Down podcast. On this week's episode, I get together with the talented, charming, and hilarious Tracee Ellis Ross to talk about her Broadway debut in a one-woman show and the new season of her travel series that has Tracee seeing the world solo. You can get our conversation for free wherever you download your podcasts.
I'm Josh Mankiewicz, and I hope you'll join us for Season 5 of Dateline Missing in America. In each episode of Dateline's award-winning series, we will focus on one missing persons case and hear from the families, the friends, and the investigators, all desperate to find them. Maybe you could help solve a mystery.
Search Dateline Missing in America to start listening on Pandora.
Yes, Tucker had told the detective she wanted a lawyer, but for this extra bit, she said she really didn't need one. She just wanted to explain, she said, why police were not called days before the argument with Shane crescendoed to his death. Why they didn't call when Shane began making his scary inheritance demands, even though he was threatening and browbeating her grandmother, she said.
I kept insisting that we call the police because that's elder abuse.
Right.
And my mother said if we called the police, he would just go berserk. She was afraid that he would set fire to the house, that he would cause damage. That's why nobody called in. That's why my grandmother didn't report anything. That's why my mother didn't report anything. She thought that this was the best way to protect everybody because we hadn't been getting protection.
So nobody from there called the police
for the elder abuse, no.
And if Shane did go berserk, as Tucker put it, and torch the house, all would be embers before a fire truck could get to them way out on their lonely country road, miles and miles from anywhere. A good 30 minutes from town, if you could even find it, nestled among the conifers in an area known as the Applegate.
Tell me about the Applegate. Where is that? And what's it like there?
The Applegate is a rural community outside of Medford and Jacksonville. It goes all the way to the California border. It's wine country, very beautiful and remote in a lot of places. There's mountains in that area that have some properties that are completely isolated from cell coverage and power. This was about as remote as you could get in Jackson County.
Which itself is enormous. Jackson County is more than twice the size of the entire state of Rhode Island.
It's a great place if you want to escape.
Yeah, so get off the grid altogether out there, huh?
Exactly.
But if you're isolated with a violent uncle who threatened to burn down the house with you and your mom and grandmother in it,
Paranoia has just been mounting so much.
and no cell service, well, that sounded like something out of The Shining.
I felt like Like there was a knife to my throat and I didn't have anywhere to run.
You can see how terrifying all that might have been to Tucker, who was warming now to her story. No need for a lawyer after all, apparently.
He'd been threatening us all day and for days.
As she told about the day she shot her uncle. A notary had arrived at her grandmother's ranch that afternoon, she said. A notary summoned by Shane to witness the document Shane demanded the grandmother sign.
My mom, she was like, we need to also add some stuff because he's continuing to threaten to kill me.
So they all gathered in the grandmother's kitchen to look over this document. Everybody but Shane, that is, who, remember, was under Tucker's restraining order, meaning she could have him arrested if he came into the house at all. Theoretically, that is, there being no cops around to do any arresting. But as the women gathered in the kitchen, Shane suddenly appeared.
What happened was, I saw Shane come around.
Where
and
was
he
Shane
was
at?
on the porch, literally 5 feet from the glass. And he wandered up the steps onto the porch and was watching. And
Where was he watching from?
literally like right outside
And
the
could you see
door.
him watching up? Could you see him there?
Yes, and I verbally like warned everybody. I was like, Shane's right there.
Okay.
And
Was
he's
the slide
watching.
journey, the slider have any drapes on it or anything like that?
No, there's nothing.
With Shane peering through the window, Tucker said her mom picked up this document he wanted signed and tore it into pieces, all within his eyesight. A bold move to provoke a man who might just burn the house down. And that's when all hell broke loose.
This is the important thing. As soon as my mom tore up the document, he ran towards the front door, which was unlocked.
Did you see him run?
Yes.
Okay.
And my mom, and I ran. This is the thing. My mom ran, and I could hear her making noises, and I started screaming. And this is where it gets hazy for me. I picked up the gun.
Your mom got up from the seat?
My mother, yes, and ran towards the door.
Ran like full-blown run?
I remember I was running. I don't know how fast it was. Everybody was screaming from what I can remember. Shane started opening the door and entering the house.
Okay.
And he was banging the door into my mother, and my mother was screaming, and he was screaming, and I had the gun, and I'm sorry.
Tucker described a life or death struggle. Shane trying to get in, her mom trying to keep him out, Tucker forced to act. Now, sitting in the interview room, describing a killing that happened just hours before, Tucker choked up and paused and grabbed a tissue.
Why did you pick up the gun?
I was absolutely sure he was going to kill my mother. He told her earlier in the day that he was going to kill her if she messed anything up for him, and she ripped pieces of paper up right in front of him.
Why do you think your mom ran towards the door?
Because it wasn't locked.
So she was, and then did you actually see the door open?
Yes.
And did you see Shane open the door?
Yes.
So you could see that. You could see that Shane was in the opening of the door.
Yes.
And could you see your mom at the door?
Yes,
holding
trying
the
to close it and lock it.
And could you see, you
Because there was a
remember?
deadbolt on it.
Tucker described in terrifying cinematic detail how the rest of the scene played out as Shane tried to force his way into the house.
You know how, like in horror movies, the hand goes around the door?
Right.
He was, like, wedging himself so the door couldn't be closed yet.
How are you holding the gun at this point?
It was only in one hand. I sort of remember just sort of having it in the air. Yeah. So my mom was against the door and trying to push the door. I could see Shane and he was trying to get in. Everyone was screaming and...
Was Shane saying anything?
Yeah. Everybody was screaming. I have no idea. I don't even know.
Was Shane screaming?
Yes.
It just happened so fast, she said. Though she did warn him, she said. She warned him.
Can you, in your best words and your best recollection, tell us exactly what you said to her?
Leave my mother alone. Get the hell out of here.
What I'd like you to do, Tucker, is do it in the voice and the loudness that you actually said it. Just reenact it for us. As loud as you need to be.
You know you're not supposed to be here. Get out of here. I have a gun. Leave. You're violent. We all know you're violent. Get out of here. It was very loud. There was no mistaking it.
Yeah, she was holding the gun, she said. She was waving it around. But she said she didn't even know how it worked.
Do you make a conscious decision to fire the gun?
I don't think, no. Because to fire a gun, I've always thought you had to cock a gun. This gun doesn't do that. It just fired.
She only grabbed the gun to threaten Shane. The shooting itself, she said, was really just an accident. So, that was Tucker's version of the story. They got the whole thing. But was the story all true? A little bit true? Not true at all. Would there be other ways to tell it? As all this drama was playing out in the police interview room, there was really only one critic who mattered. His name is Gabe Birchfield, the lead detective. Bearded, lanky, laconic. Think of John Krasinski from The Office, but with a bit of an edge. And Birchfield's review?
There was a lot of displayed emotion from Tucker in that, and it was hard to determine if it was actual emotion that was happening or was she just putting on a show.
Detective Birchfield watched on a monitor outside the interview room. He listened carefully, but he also looked at Tucker's body language.
When looking at her, she seemed emotional. She would pull her knees up to her chest and put her head between her knees and do different things like that. But when she wanted to say something, it didn't seem like she was upset. She would get it out there if it was matter of fact.
Did you know about her acting ability when you initially saw that first conversation?
I didn't know that she had acting ability. I knew that she was supposedly an author and wrote for several things. She seemed very dramatic, which is hard to discredit at the time if you just shot your uncle. I mean, you don't know how someone's going to react after that scenario, but it seemed over the top.
But was it? Tucker, remember, was only one of the women in that country kitchen. And now, in the sheriff's department, Kelly Moore, Tucker's mother, was waiting in the wings. If Tucker came off as a tearful ingenue, Kelly was loud and angry and absolutely certain her brother Shane was out to kill them.
And I'm trying to shut the door, and he's shoving it into me. And I'm leaning forward, trying to shut the door.
Take your time. It's okay.
And he was trying to come in, and he was trying to hurt me. And God only knows what else he was going to do.
To say Kelly was animated would be an understatement. She fairly bristled under her bangs, her straight strawberry blonde hair, with a rage that seemed to fill the room.
I'm so glad he's dead. I can't tell you. I don't grieve for my brother. I am glad this man is dead.
Shane was violent, she said. Their lives were in danger out there on the ranch.
I'm telling you that moments before my brother died, he was assaulting me with the door. He was screaming at me. He was trying to force his way into a house he had no right to be in. I didn't know what Shane was going to do. It was horrifying.
What was going on here? The detectives were going to have to get to the bottom of the shooting, no doubt. But there were nagging questions. Why would a lawyer mom and her eloquent daughter get caught up in a deadly confrontation at a house on a ranch in the middle of nowhere? Something, or a bunch of somethings, led to that moment. So, what? Quite a story, that. Worthy of a movie.
I did not want to kill my uncle. I did not want to ruin my life.
As the detectives found out, Tucker Reed and her mom were two very accomplished women.
You have a law degree?
Yes, I practiced law for 20 years.
Okay.
Kelly, once an attorney, left the field to co-author with her then-husband a best-selling true crime book, Deadly Medicine, which was later adapted into a made-for-TV movie, appeared on NBC.
Just breathe for me, okay? Breathe.
Tucker?
She was always sort of ahead of the curve on everything.
Tucker's dad, Daniel Reed, is a former actor himself, and you can see why. Thick gray hair, bearded. He looks like a cross between Sean Connery and George Clooney. Daniel said Tucker was a natural performer, even as a child.
Kelly would make these fantastic little costumes for Tucker. Peter Pan and a fairy angel, and she liked it. She got a lot of attention, and she liked the costumes, liked parading around. With some kids, they do that and they're not comfortable, and Tucker was always perfectly comfortable, and it was a delight to perceive.
Okay, at this time we have a special number from Tucker Reed.
By the time she was 4, Tucker was the star of her preschool graduation ceremony in Morgan Hill, California, performing a cover of Shirley Temple's signature song. But her childhood was a fairy tale for Tucker and her siblings, her father told us. It could have been written by the brothers Grimm. The success he and Kelly had with the book and the movie deals was never to be repeated.
Unfortunately, we didn't, as a team, impress the people that we interacted with that they wanted to work with us again. So that created a great deal of stress and strain on our relationship.
Which led to arguments about bills and debt and who bore the most fault in what was now a very unhappy family.
Our kids grew up in a very, kind of like a war zone. Psychologically and emotionally, it was a very tense atmosphere that they were brought up into. I think it was February sometime in 2000 where our marriage ended.
Difficult divorce?
Very.
Yeah.
Contentious.
Over what? What were the big issues?
Where they were going to live and what kind of custody arrangement we were going to be able to agree to. She insisted on sole care, custody, and control of their upbringing.
Kelly won that fight. Won sole custody of Tucker and Tucker's younger sister and brother. But after the divorce was settled, Daniel said he had immediate regrets, tried to get it overturned. Even now, years later, he chokes up as he describes the scene in court.
And so the judge asked me, like, why do you want me to set this aside? And I said, I can't tell you exactly, but I know that if you don't, something really bad is going to happen.
But Daniel's feelings didn't persuade the judge. So Kelly was free to take their 3 children and move from California to Southern Oregon to be closer to her parents and to the area's thriving performing arts scene. There, Tucker attended Ashland High School and its prestigious theater studies department.
Ashland there's the Oregon Shakespeare Festival is there, this state-of-the-art professional theater that's won Tonys and things.
Ashland High is where Tucker met Meg Windows. You remember Meg in that horror movie with Tucker.
You have a lot of people who move to Ashland because their kids do theater and they want to learn theater from people at OSF, which I did. It was pretty cool. In high school, I got to act in plays that were directed by OSF actors and directors. And it was definitely very competitive. I first met Tucker in 2005. We were in Guys and Dolls together at the high school. She learned her lines very quickly, and she added all of this interesting character business.
Yes, Tucker was one impressive young woman. And then, after high school, still a teenager, mind you, Tucker and her mom and sister co-authored 2 young adult novels. Tucker narrated the audiobook versions.
Amber House was an odd place at any hour, but it was...
she had her own Wikipedia page. But it was different from the one created for Wynn. On young Tucker's page, any reader would discover she had a significant pedigree. if you could put it that way, traced all the way back to settlers from the Mayflower in Jamestown, Virginia. It was really no surprise she was admitted to the prestigious University of Southern California in Los Angeles, where soon after arriving, she fell in love and eventually moved in with her young man. Just about the perfect plot point on which to bring a happy story to a blissful conclusion. Roll credits. But life. Things happen, don't they? They happened to Tucker, too. 2 years into the relationship, Tucker's boyfriend moved out. And 6 weeks after that, Tucker filed a civil suit claiming the young man sexually assaulted her when they first started dating. She tried to get him kicked out of USC. It was a big deal, serious business. So much so, the Student Judicial Affairs Committee conducted an investigation and ruled against her. Tucker was outraged. Tucker went to war. She wrote a blog accusing the adjudicators who ruled against her, both women, of ignorance, incompetence, and bias. She claimed they were abusive, treated her with disdain. She complained that the Los Angeles DA rejected her case for lack of evidence. She co-founded a group called Student Coalition Against Rape, SCAR. She wrote articles about her experience for the Huffington Post and Cosmopolitan magazine. She even held an on-campus news conference.
I believe that the weaknesses could be pinpointed and fixed.
Appeared on CNN.
It's very interesting to note that a victim can come forward with a binder of evidence, but the school will choose to believe a completely unsubstantiated claim from a male student who denies it.
Oh, well, he certainly did deny it. In fact, he did far more than just deny it. He filed a lawsuit of his own for libel, in which he pointed out that Tucker told the Student Judicial Affairs Committee that she did not initially think she was sexually assaulted. And then, quote, "It was after a conversation with her mother, Kelly S. Moore, when Tucker began to think she was sexually assaulted." Tucker's ex demanded $100,000 in damages. And then both lawsuits, the boyfriend's and Tucker's, were dismissed. What a firestorm it all was. In an effort to blow away some of the smoke and get a clearer picture of what happened, we contacted Tucker's ex-boyfriend and the two adjudicators and the co-founder of SCAR. None responded. But Tucker's life had taken a sharp turn. She never did graduate from USC. Instead, she returned to Oregon and wrote for a local paper for a little while. But for Tucker, it seemed there could be no peace wherever she was. All that ugly turmoil at USC was soon upstaged by an even greater strife with her very own uncle, Shane Moore.
Did he ever threaten to kill you?
Yes.
To hear this well-educated, well-spoken young woman tell it, hers was a clear case of self-defense. After police left the interrogation room, Tucker began sobbing, hyperventilating, seemed so overcome with emotion she collapsed into a fetal position. As lead detective Gabe Birchfield watched Tucker on the monitor, his internal detection system kept twitching.
There was a lot of displayed emotion from Tucker in that. It seemed over the top.
Was it grief that brought her to her knees? Or the growing realization she was in very serious trouble? Questions like that were the reason when Birchfield came to take Tucker away in the midst of her emotional collapse. It was not to take her to the hospital. No, he came to take Tucker to jail, where she was charged with manslaughter. Still, Tony Young, one of the detectives who actually questioned Tucker, wasn't satisfied. Like somehow the curtain had come down before the final scene.
I had that nagging in my mind that this was a lot more. It had a lot of different tendrils, that there was more going on here.
Oh, indeed, there was. Next, on Killer Roll.
Did you think Shane was going to cause you harm coming through the door?
Yes.
Cause who harm?
Actually, to be honest, realistically, probably me. Probably me.
And why?
Because he knows that my mom doesn't care about anybody else in the world as much as she cares about me.
Yeah, what my side of what happened there is that Shane has been terrorizing us for 9 months. Terrorized.
Okay, all right.
Terrorized.
And
we
you know
were
what?
terrorized.
Killer Roll is brought to you by Dateline NBC. For Dateline NBC, Vince Sterle is our producer. Linda Zhang is the associate producer. Joe Delmonico is the senior producer, and Susan Knoll oversees our digital programming. Adam Gorfain is co-executive producer, Liz Cole is our executive producer, and David Corvo is our senior executive producer. From Neon Hum Media, supervising producer is Samantha Allison. Associate producers are Liz Sanchez and Evan Jacoby. Producers are Crystal Genesis and Alex Schumann. Executive producer is Jonathan Hirsch. Sound design and mixing by Scott Somerville. And music by Andrew Eapen.
As the day wraps up, get the scoop on what's been happening with Here's the Scoop, a new podcast from NBC News with me, your host, Yasmin Vasugian. We'll take a deep dive into the day's top stories with NBC News' trusted journalist. It's a fresh take that's sharp, thoughtful, and it's informative, bringing you closer to the headlines and conversations that are shaping our world. From the front page to the zeitgeist, Here's the Scoop from NBC News. Listen daily on Amazon Music.